May 1st, 9:53 a.m., delivery room. I have just been born. In a moment, my parents' adopted son, my nominal brother Shinyu, will use the excuse of liking his little sister to throw me heavily to the ground. In my previous life, he succeeded. I was instantly turned into a fool, remained mentally impaired for a full 18 years, and was eventually driven out of the house by him, freezing to death under a bridge. But this life is different. I spent 70 years in the underworld making soup for the Lady Meng, and only after she finally relented did I get this chance to start over. I look into my mother's gentle eyes and silently vow within my heart, this time, I will not let him succeed. 1. In my previous life, I had just been born. My mother held me in her arms, weeping with joy. My grandmother stood by the bedside, murmuring, "As long as mother and daughter are safe, that's all that matters." But they wouldn't have anticipated, in an hour, Shinyu would rush to the hospital from home. He would approach with a shy smile, speaking in an eager tone, expressing his desire to hold his little sister. Mother didn't suspect anything, merely thinking it was because the brother liked the sister. Unexpectedly, the moment Shinyu took me in his hands, bang, he threw me heavily to the ground. Just born, my skull had not yet closed, and I was left with intracranial hemorrhage. After a difficult rescue, I was left as a fool. In my previous life, Shinyu ruined me for a lifetime, and now, I have been reborn. Although I am just a newborn baby, unable to speak, but that's okay. I can cry, I can make a fuss, I can grab. Having brewed soup in the underworld for 70 years, I understand all too well how important a child is to a mother. Even the slightest suspicion can make them wary. Shinyu, I'm ready. Opening my eyes, I snuggled closer into my mother's arms. Her small hands tightly clutched the collar of her hospital gown, not daring to let go for a single moment. Her grandmother sat beside her for a while, then leaned in and said, "Tired, aren't you? Come, Grandma will hold you for a while, so Mommy can rest." No, I immediately became alert. In my previous life, it was Grandma who handed me over to Shinyu. Although she wasn't a bad person, she was old and soft-hearted, seeing everyone as good people. Shinyu said he wanted to hold his sister, and she was full of thoughts like, it's a good thing for a brother to like his sister, and she wouldn't think of anything bad at all. But she didn't know that the brother wanted my life. Just as Grandma's hand was about to touch me, wow, I let out a piercing cry, my little face turning red, and I desperately burrowed into my mother's embrace. Mother was startled and instinctively hugged me tighter. "What's wrong? What's wrong?" Grandmother's hand retracted, awkwardly. "I just wanted to hold you for a little while." No sooner had she finished speaking than she reached out again. I started crying again, louder than before, even more heart-wrenching. Mom finally understood, holding me close as she said, "Mom, it seems this child only recognizes me. She cries whenever anyone else touches her." Grandma wasn't ready to give up. How could that be? Such a young child wouldn't know how to recognize people. She reached out for the third time. I cried so hard I nearly passed out. Mom was completely flustered, turning around while holding me close. "Mom, it really won't work. Look at how much she's crying." It was only then that her grandmother gave up, saying with a mixture of laughter and tears, all right, recognizing people is good. Children who recognize people are smart, but you'll have to bear with the trouble." Grandma looked at Mom with a hint of heartache in her eyes. I felt heartache too, but for the sake of our family's future, we could only let Mom endure a bit of hardship for now. At that moment, Mom looked down at me and said with a smile, "How could I be tired? My precious daughter clinging to me. I couldn't be happier. Good girl. Then from now on, only let Mommy hold you." She patted my back and hummed a lullaby. I gradually calmed down, but my hands never let go. Time passed minute by minute. I counted the time. 3, 2, 1. "Mom, I've come to see my little sister." The door was pushed open. Shinyu stood at the door, his face wearing a shy smile. "Sister is so cute." He ran up, looking at me eagerly, then said very innocently, "Mommy, can I hold the baby sister, too?" When Shinyu said this, his eyes were filled with anticipation. Anyone who saw him would have to say he was a good brother. My mother glanced down at me and smiled. "Look how much your brother likes you." She didn't think much of it and began to loosen her grip on me. "Now is the time." Wah! My explosive cries suddenly erupted in the ward, one after another, urgent and aggrieved, and the closer Shinyu got, the harder I cried. The crying grew more urgent, as if I couldn't catch my breath. Mom was startled and instinctively held me tighter. Grandma, standing nearby, was also stunned. "Why are you crying again? Weren't you just fine a moment ago?" At that moment, Dad had also parked the car and walked in through the door, looking puzzled. "Why is the baby crying? Is he hungry?" he leaned over and reached out to take me into his arms. I didn't cry. He handed me to my grandmother again. I still didn't cry. Dad let out a sigh of relief and said with a smile, "Isn't she quite well behaved?" Shinyu stood beside me, looking at me with eager eyes, and whispered softly, "Dad, can I hold my little sister?" Dad glanced at me, then at Shinyu, and said with a smile, "All right, let your brother hold her." Xiaoyu wanted to come early, saying he missed his sister, so of course, he had to let you hold her. He held me and handed me over to Shinyu, but as soon as I got close to Shinyu's hands, wah, louder, more piercing, and more forceful cries erupted than before. If my previous cries were just for show, then this time, I truly gave it my all, because I caught a glimpse of the fleeting coldness in Shinyu's eyes. In my past life, he smiled just like this, speaking in the most innocent tone, saying he wanted to hold his little sister. Then, his hand slipped. At the moment I fell, the corners of his mouth were curled upward. In the end, I suffered intracranial bleeding, was saved, but ended up with brain damage for 18 long years. My mother took me all over the country, consulting every renowned doctor, but nothing worked. I couldn't even write my own name, drooling and being called an idiot. And what about Shinyu? He thrived in the Shin family, eating my food, living in my house, spending my money, all while pretending to be the perfect older brother. Mom blamed herself until her death, thinking it was because she was too weak after giving birth and didn't have the strength in her hands when she passed me over, which led to me ending up like this. In the end, she died of depression, and the first thing Shinyu did after her death was to throw me out of the house like a stray dog. As a fool, when I was hungry, I could only scavenge for food in the trash. Cold, I would curl up under the bridge. In the end, I froze to death. Hatred and grievance all surged out at once. I cried with all my might, sobbing heart-wrenchingly, as if to tear the roof apart. Dad glanced at my tear-streaked, flushed face, then looked at Shinyu's outstretched hand and frowned. "What's wrong with this child?" Mom quickly took me back. As soon as I was back in her arms, my crying immediately quieted down, and I just huddled into a ball, sniffling and sobbing. Shinyu stood beside her, his smile gone, and he lowered his head, his voice muffled. "Doesn't my sister like me?" Her father patted his head. "Don't overthink it, your sister is still young and shy." Grandma watched from the side for a long time, then suddenly turned her gaze to Shinyu, her expression darkening. "Are you planning to do something to your sister?" Shinyu's body froze. But he quickly regained his composure, looking at Grandma with a pitiful expression. "Grandma, what are you talking about? I just want to hug my sister. What could I possibly do to her?" Grandma stared at him for a few seconds without saying a word. Dad quickly stepped in to smooth things over. "Mom, you're overthinking it. Xiaoyu is only 10 years old. What bad intentions could a child possibly have? He just likes his little sister." Grandma opened her mouth but ultimately didn't say anything more. However, her gaze never left Shinyu. Dad smiled, took me from Mom's arms, patted my back, and said, "Xiaoyu, don't take it to heart. Grandma is just worried about your sister." Shinyu nodded, forcing a smile. "Yes, I know." Leaning against my mother's warm chest, I blew bubbles while hearing my father whisper, "What's wrong with Mom today? It's been 8 years since Xiaoyu came to our home. She watched him grow up, so why would she still suspect him?" Mom also whispered, "Maybe my mom is just too nervous. After all, this is her first granddaughter." Dad sighed. "That's true, the old lady is getting on in years. It's natural for her to overthink, but don't let her talk about this in front of Xiaoyu. It will make the child uncomfortable." "Dad is speaking up for Shinyu." I frowned. In fact, I knew this in my previous life. Dad treats Shinyu well, not just because of the 8 years of affection, but more so because Shinyu is his biological son. He had an affair after marriage and fathered a love child with another woman, and my mother was kept in the dark the whole time. Without a child, she was persuaded by my father to adopt Shinyu, who appeared to be an orphan. In my previous life, after I became demented, I heard Shinyu say to my father with my own ears, "Yes, I pushed her on purpose. I wanted her dead. I'm your biological son too, so why does she have everything from the moment she's born, and me, I have to sneak around just to see my own birth mother?" My father fell silent. Even though he knew Shinyu was the one who harmed me, he still said nothing and did nothing. He kept it from my mother for a lifetime, letting her believe until her death that she had accidentally caused my harm. Thinking of my past life, I couldn't help but slap my dad's hand. Dad immediately chuckled, pointing at my nose. "Oh, they say daughters are their parents' warm little jackets, but why is my little jacket letting in a draft?" Mom gave him a pat. "Don't talk nonsense." Then, with loving tenderness, she pulled me into her arms, her forehead gently touching the tip of my nose. Our precious one is the sweetest, isn't she, my good little baby? A warm atmosphere surrounded us. Grandma watched this scene, a smile also appearing on her face, but when her gaze swept over Shinyu, her smile paused for a moment. Shinyu stood by the bedside, quietly watching our family of three. He wore a smile on his face, sensible and well-behaved, but I saw it, his hand hanging at his side quietly clenched into a fist, his fingertips turned white, veins bulging as if saying, "Just wait." I shivered, my 10 fingers tightly gripping the collar of my mother's shirt. "Shinyu, you're dreaming." For the rest of the time, Shinyu didn't come forward again. Dad told him to go home first, saying he could hold his sister when she's a bit older. Shinyu nodded, politely said goodbye to Mom and Grandma, and followed Dad out. I thought he had given up, and I just started to relax. A woman in her 40s, wearing a maternity nurse uniform, with a kind and friendly smile, walked in. "Hello, Mrs. Shen, I'm the maternity nurse sent by the housekeeping company, surnamed Lu. Mr. Shen hired me to take care of you and the baby." Lu Yu. In her previous life, she was the nanny my father hired, but it wasn't until later that I found out she wasn't a legitimate nanny at all. She was Shinyu's real mother, the woman my father had been keeping outside for over a decade. In my previous life, after Shinyu left me brain damaged, my mother took me to see doctors everywhere, exhausted both physically and mentally. Lu Yu took advantage of the situation and solidified her position in the Shen household. On the surface, she was taking care of me, but in reality, she had an affair with my father, right under my mother's nose for several years. This life is different. I wasn't dropped and turned into a fool, and she arrived early too. At this moment, she was smiling, but her gaze subtly lingered on my face, filled with disgust. She has been observing for a long time. At this moment, Dad is taking Shinyu home and hasn't returned yet. Grandma went out with the doctor to get the medicine, and Mom is holding me, having just given birth. Her body is very weak. "Mrs. Shen, you've just given birth, you need to rest well. Here, give the baby to me, and I'll soothe her to sleep." She extended her hand and skillfully made a gesture to hold the baby. I was filled with a sudden, overwhelming dread. Almost instinctively, I let out a sharp cry, my little face flushed red, and my limbs flailing wildly. Mom quickly held me tighter. "Oh, I'm sorry, this child is shy and cries whenever anyone holds her." "Sister Lu, thank you, I'll hold the child myself." Mother politely declined. Liu gave an awkward smile but did not retract her hand. Instead, she pushed further. "Mrs. Shen, that's not quite right of you to say. I am a professional postpartum care specialist. Having taken care of dozens of newborns, I'm most skilled at soothing babies. If you push yourself like this, what if you develop postpartum issues?" Lu Yu's voice was gentle and caring, leaving no room for criticism, but I knew her true nature. Wah! I was so frantic that I kicked and flailed wildly in my mother's arms, my voice cracking from the strain. I was terrified that my mother would hand me over to this venomous woman. My mother also sensed my resistance. Her hands, which had just begun to loosen, suddenly tightened their grip again. She frowned and took a step back. Lu Yu stepped forward again. She stepped back once more. She stepped forward again. Over time, even my mother noticed something was off. Her smile remained unchanged, her voice even gentler than before, but her arms locked tightly around me like a deadbolt. "Sister Lu, really, it's not necessary. I know you're professional, but this child only wants me. Let's wait a couple of days until she adjusts." Mother was polite and courteous, leaving no room for anyone to find fault. Lu Yu was about to say something when her grandmother returned with the medicine. "Wait." Her grandmother walked over, scrutinizing Lu Yu from head to toe, her brow slightly furrowed, and she said directly, "You go back first." Lu Yu was momentarily stunned. "Auntie, I am a professional postpartum doula hired by Mr. Shen." "No need." The grandmother waved her hand, her attitude firm. "I've already found another doula. She'll be here tomorrow. You can leave now." Lu Yu opened her mouth, wanting to say something more. Grandma had already turned around to tuck the blanket around Mom, not looking at her anymore. Lu Yu stood rooted in place, her face alternating between red and white, before finally picking up her bag and leaving. After the door closed, Mom whispered, "Mom, when did you hire a nanny? Why didn't I know?" Grandma lowered her voice. "Didn't look, just an excuse. I always feel that person is a bit off. Their gaze is strange. The child has just been born. We must be cautious in everything. Send them away first." Mom nodded. "I feel the same way. It seems like a lot of people are eyeing the baby, and it's almost as if something unbearable would happen the moment she leaves my side." Mom, we must keep a close watch on her. Grandma nodded, her brow furrowed. Lost in thought, Mom held me even tighter. I closed my eyes and rested my face against my mother's chest, letting out a sigh of relief. It seems that my grandmother and mother have truly become vigilant this time. 18 years earlier than in my previous life. Great. 5. For the rest of the time, Granny changed from her previous relaxed state and became a vigilant guardian, staying by the hospital bed without leaving an inch. During this period, when the nurse came to check on the patient, she watched closely. When the doctor came for a consultation, she listened attentively. Even when the person delivering meals entered, she insisted on watching them open the food container to take a look. She and my mom were like two robots with alarms activated, guarding me fiercely. Leaving no room for anyone to take advantage, I nestled in my mother's arms, watching their cautious demeanor, and felt extremely secure. In my previous life, Shinyu was able to succeed because everyone was completely unsuspecting of him. Now it's different. Shinyu would never succeed again. Time passed bit by bit, and my body uncontrollably felt tired. I'm sleepy, as a newborn baby. Feeling sleepy is an instinctive bodily response, and I can't resist it, but I dare not fall asleep, straining my eyes wide open, afraid of missing something. Mom saw through my struggle and gently rocked me, whispering softly, "Sleep, my dear, Mom will stay by your side." I shook my head, but the next second, I was forcibly shut down by overwhelming sleepiness. I heard my grandmother following the doctor out to get medicine. I felt my mother place me in the crib, but she didn't leave. She stayed right beside me, gently patting my back. Everything felt natural and warm, until my mother received a phone call. What? My mom fainted from low blood sugar. Is it serious? I'm coming right now. Mom stood up and placed a kiss on my forehead. Then, in a hurry, she left the suite, leaving me alone, lying in the crib, sleeping soundly. 10 minutes later, click, the sound of a doorknob turning. A figure tiptoed in. His footsteps were light, as if stepping on cotton. The figure approached the crib, lowering his head to look at me, a hint of malice flashing in his eyes. Go to hell. He reached out his hand toward me, just as he lifted me high into the air. Wah! At that moment, I opened my eyes and let out the loudest cry of my life. Stop! My grandmother's voice exploded from the doorway. Behind her stood my parents and the hospital security guards. The figure froze instantly. 6. Bang! The sound of the door being kicked open made Shinyu tremble all over, and his hands paused for a moment. It was just that moment. A figure lunged from the side and snatched me away from his grasp. It was the head nurse. She had been hiding behind the curtains the whole time. Following Grandma's plan, she stayed hidden in the hospital room, ready to ensure my safety the moment Shinyu made a move. My baby. Mom rushed in from the doorway, snatched me into her arms, and held me tightly against her chest. Her knees hit the ground hard, and she fell to the floor, but her hands locked around me like a vice, pressing me against her chest. Baby, baby. She sat on the ground, trembling all over, checking me over and over to confirm that I was unharmed before letting out a loud cry. It was a cry of survival after a disaster, a cry of fear that had reached its peak. Held in her arms, I could feel her heart racing in her chest, as if it were about to leap out of her throat. The head nurse stood in front of us, pointing a finger at Shinyu and speaking sharply. Don't move. Shinyu froze in place, his hands still raised in the air, the color draining from his face in an instant. He hadn't expected anyone to be behind the curtain. What he hadn't anticipated even more was that this had been a trap from the very beginning. Time rewinds to 40 minutes earlier. Grandma went to the nurse's station. Nurse, I need to tell you something. Grandma lowered her voice, her expression more serious than ever before. I suspect someone is trying to harm my granddaughter. The head nurse was organizing medical records when she heard this, her hand pausing as she looked up at her. Please go ahead. The grandmother recounted every detail. From the moment Shinyu entered the room, the way he looked at me, the heart-wrenching cry I let out when he approached, and the tightly clenched fists hanging at his sides. A 10-year-old child, meeting their sister for the first time, shouldn't react like this. After the grandmother spoke, the head nurse remained silent for a long time. She had worked in obstetrics for 20 years and had seen all kinds of families. Some things adults might not notice, but those who have seen it all can sense something is off at a glance. What do you want to do? Grandma took a deep breath. I want to test him once. How to test? We all leave the baby and see what he actually wants to do. Grandma's plan was simple. She would leave the ward first. If someone really wanted to harm me, they would definitely find a way to send my mother away and then take advantage of the opportunity to act. But my granddaughter must stay in the ward. Only then will they truly take action. Grandma frowned and said, So I need your help to find someone to hide in the ward. If there really is a bad person trying to act, they must save the child at the first moment. The head nurse thought for a moment and nodded. All right, I'll do it myself. It's just, the head nurse hesitated for a moment before saying, wouldn't this be too much for your daughter? She just gave birth, she's my daughter, and I know her body. The grandmother's voice was hoarse. But if something happens to my granddaughter, she won't live a good life. I'd rather she be a bit frightened now than regret it for the rest of her life. The head nurse glanced at her but didn't say anything more, turning to make arrangements. Next, the grandmother returned to the ward and explained the plan to her daughter. Mom's face changed after hearing this. Mom, do you suspect Xiaoyu? Her voice was very soft, filled with disbelief. 7, but he's only 10 years old, and he's been with our family for 8 years. I've always treated him as my own child. How could he? Grandma held my mother's hand, interrupting her. I know, I hope I'm overthinking it, but what if I'm not? What if I'm right? Think about your daughter's reaction just now. As soon as you approached Xiaoyu, she started crying. The moment you handed her to Xiaoyu, she wailed, a newborn baby. What does she know? She knows nothing, but her instincts tell her that person is dangerous. Even animal young know to hide from predators, and human children are the same. Mom fell silent. She looked down at me. I was staring back at her with wide eyes, my little hand clutching her collar tightly, not letting go for a moment. She thought for a while and finally nodded. All right, I'll listen to you. Then, they began to set up. The head nurse had already hidden behind the curtains, her position perfectly allowing her to see the crib and be ready to pounce at any moment. Grandma pretended to go get the medicine. Sure enough, not long after, someone called my mom to say that Grandma had fallen. My mom frowned and exchanged a glance with the head nurse hiding in the shadows. In the end, she decided to play along and walked out. 10 minutes later, Xinyu arrived. He didn't go home with my father but found an excuse to return to the hospital. At this moment, he emerged from the stairwell, glanced around the corridor to confirm no one was there, and then tiptoed to the ward door. He didn't knock. I pushed the door open directly. My grandmother hid around the corner of the corridor, her heart pounding like a drum. She peeked out cautiously, looking through the crack in the door. Xinyu walked towards me, standing in front of me, looking down at me, motionless. Then, my grandmother saw his expression, that expression, one she would never forget for the rest of her life. Not curiosity, not excitement, not even disgust. It's hatred, a deep, oppressive hatred, as if it had been brewing for a very, very long time. A 10-year-old child should not have such an expression on their face. Xinyu reached out his hand toward me, but what he didn't know was that the head nurse had already quietly leaned out from behind the curtain, ready to pounce at any moment. On this side, Xinyu lifted me high up. He wasn't supporting, he wasn't protecting. He gripped me under the arms and lifted me up, lifted me over his head. Go to hell. He shouted out this sentence. Bang, the door was slammed open. Grandma rushed in. Stop. She let out a thunderous shout, the sound shaking the entire corridor. Xinyu was so startled that he trembled all over. In that split second of his trembling, the head nurse lunged from the side and snatched me away. Her movements were swift and steady, as if she had rehearsed them countless times. In fact, she had rehearsed it many times in her mind. As a head nurse with 20 years of experience in obstetrics, catching a baby was as natural to her as breathing. My baby. Mom finally couldn't hold back and rushed in. She took me from the head nurse and held me tightly in her arms. Xinyu stood frozen in place, his hands still raised in the air, the color drained from his face. 8. Grandma stood at the doorway, with Dad and 2 security guards behind her. Xinyu looked at these people, his body beginning to tremble. I just wanted to hold my little sister. His voice was very soft, choked with tears. I don't know what happened. My hand slipped. Grandma walked over, grabbed his wrist, and pulled his still suspended hand down. You held her under the armpits and lifted her over your head. And you call that a slip of the hand? You waited in the hallway for 10 minutes, only coming in after confirming no one was around, and you call that a slip of the hand? Xinyu, do you think we're all fools? Xinyu's tears finally fell. Grandma, I really didn't mean to. He crouched down, burying his head in his hands, crying so hard he could barely catch his breath. I just wanted to hold her. I don't know how it happened. Enough. Mom suddenly spoke up. Her voice was soft, but it silenced everyone. She held me and walked up to Xinyu, looking down at him. Xinyu, tell me, why do you hate her? Xinyu looked up, his eyes blurred with tears. I don't hate her. Then why did you drop her? I didn't. You just lifted her over your head. I saw it with my own eyes. The head nurse saw it with her own eyes. Your grandmother saw it with her own eyes. Mother's voice finally cracked. as if something inside had shattered. Shenyu, I raised you for 8 years, for 8 years, I treated you like my own child, I cooked for you, washed your clothes, attended parent-teacher meetings for you, and stayed by your side all night when you were sick. Tell me, what have I done wrong? Why would you do this to my daughter? Shenyu crouched on the ground, his shoulders heaving violently. He was crying so hard he couldn't speak, but he was still holding back. Grandma looked at him, her suspicions growing clearer in her heart. She crouched down, meeting Shenyu's eyes at his level, and softened her voice. Shenyu, tell Grandma the truth. Did someone teach you to do this? Shenyu shook his head desperately. Then why did you drop your sister? Because, Shenyu's voice was intermittent, as if something was stuck in his throat, making it impossible to speak. Suddenly, he jerked his head up and looked at his father by the door. After all, he was only 10 years old. Seeing his father was like grasping a lifeline. Dad, Shenyu suddenly screamed, his voice trembling with sobs, sharp and ear-piercing. Dad, save me, tell them I didn't mean it. Tell Mom, make her stop being angry. You're the best at calming Mom down. Dad, say something, you're my real dad. 9. That last sentence exploded like a bomb in the ward. Everyone froze in shock. Mom tightened her grip on my arms suddenly, as if she had been slapped hard. Grandma's eyes widened instantly, her expression shifting from shock to disbelief. The head nurse and the security guard exchanged glances, unsure whether they should stay or leave. Dad stood at the door, his face as pale as paper. His lips trembled, wanting to say something, but not a single word came out. What did you say? Mom's voice was very soft, so soft it seemed to drift over from a faraway place. You said he's your what? Shenyu cried so hard he could barely catch his breath, completely unaware of what he was saying. He was just a child pushed to the brink, instinctively crying out for help from the person he trusted most. He's my dad, he's my real dad. I'm not adopted, I was born to him and my real mom. Dad, say something, hurry up and tell Mom not to be mad at me anymore. His voice grew louder and more urgent, eventually turning into a near-frantic scream. The hospital room was eerily quiet. Mom stood in place, motionless. Her face was expressionless, her eyes fixed straight on her father as if looking at a stranger. Shen Jianjun. Her voice was unnervingly calm. Is what he said true? Dad's Adam's apple bobbed several times, his forehead drenched in sweat. He opened his mouth, let out a muffled syllable, then closed it again. I'm asking you a question. Mom's voice suddenly rose an octave, sharp as a knife. Is Shenyu the child you had with another woman? Father's knees buckled. He thudded onto the ground. This action had already answered all the questions. Mom held me, her body starting to tremble, not from the cold, but from anger. It started from the tips of her fingers, shaking all the way to her heart, to her eyes, until her entire body was shaking like a sieve. 8 years, her voice was trembling, but every word was spoken with clarity. For 8 whole years, you made me adopt your son with your mistress, and I raised him as my own. I cooked for him, washed his clothes, helped him with his homework, and stayed up all night when he was sick. Do you know what people said about me? They said I was blessed to have such a smart son without giving birth. I even thought it was God's mercy, sparing me the pain of childbirth while giving me a child. And then what? So it turns out this is your child with another woman. You made me raise your illegitimate child and expected me to be grateful. Shen Jianjun, do you think I'm particularly easy to fool? As she spoke, tears began to fall, not loud wails, but silent tears, one drop at a time, falling on my face. I stretched out my little hand and gently touched her cheek. Ah, I called out, as if saying, Mom, don't cry. Mom looked down at me, and the tears flowed even more fiercely. Baby, she choked out, Mommy is so sorry. Mommy has let you be born into such a family. Dad knelt on the floor, his forehead pressed against the cold tiles. I'm sorry, I'm sorry. He kept repeating these 3 words over and over, as if they were the only ones he knew how to say. Shenyu, crouched in the corner, saw his father kneel down and panicked along with him. Dad, get up. Why are you kneeling? Just talk to her. Didn't you say she would forgive you? Tell me. He grew more anxious as he spoke, his words becoming increasingly reckless, and each sentence felt like another stab at Mom's wound. He said I would forgive him. Mom repeated the words and laughed. That smile was uglier than a cry. Shen Jianjun, what did you tell this child? Did you tell him I would forgive you? Did you plan this all along? Wait until things are exposed, then have me forgive you for the sake of the child. Do you think I can't live without you for the rest of my life? Dad knelt on the ground, not daring to raise his head. Answer me. Mom suddenly let out a sharp shout, making Shinyu tremble all over. Dad finally spoke, his voice hoarse like sandpaper. I knew Lu Yu before I married you. Later, my family arranged a blind date for me to marry you. I broke it off with her, but she later found me and said she was pregnant. She said she didn't want a title, just that I raised the child, so you brought the child home and had me adopt it. My mother finished the rest of his sentence for him. Shin Jianjun, you're really something. You got another woman pregnant outside, then shoved the child to me to raise. I work during the day and take care of the baby at night, exhausted like a dog, while you continue to have fun with that woman outside. Do you often take Shinyu to see that woman? Dad didn't answer, but his silence was the best answer. Mom closed her eyes and took a deep breath. That woman named Lu Yu, the postpartum caregiver, who came today, right? Dad's body visibly stiffened. What is she here for? To see where her son lives, or to see what I, the fool, look like? Is she planning to wait until I'm dead to enter the house legitimately? Dad dared not speak. Grandma stood to the side, not uttering a single word from start to finish. Her face was ashen, her lips pressed into a thin line, her hands clenched together, the knuckles turning white. She walked up to her father and looked down at him. Shin Jianjun, her father looked up, his eyes red-rimmed. Mom, don't call me Mom. My grandmother's voice was as cold as the winter wind. You are not entitled to call me that. You got another woman pregnant, dumped the child on my daughter to raise, and now your illegitimate son wants to kill my granddaughter. Are you trying to kill me and my children, this whole family of yours? Mom, I really didn't know Xiaoyu would. You don't know. Grandma interrupted him, her voice suddenly rising. What don't you know? Don't you know that your illegitimate son hates my granddaughter? Don't you know what that woman of yours teaches her child? Shin Jianjun, are you really unaware or just pretending? Dad knelt on the ground, unable to utter a single word. Shin Yu huddled in the corner and suddenly spoke up. It's not my dad's fault, after all. He was just a 10-year-old child, unable to withstand the pressure, and he shouted. I did it myself. I hated her myself, before she was born. My dad promised me that even with a little sister, nothing would change, but as soon as she came out, everything changed. Everyone in the family revolves around her, and no one remembers me. My mom, my biological mom, she's right. There's no place for me in this family. I'm just an outsider, an illegitimate child who can't even see the light of day. She said that as long as my sister is gone, everything will go back to the way it was, so he couldn't go on. The grandmother looked at him, her eyes reddening. Your biological mother, she told you to hurt your sister. Shin Yu shook his head desperately. It wasn't her who told me to come, it was my own idea. She just said. What did she say? She said if something happened to my sister, Dad wouldn't want me anymore, that I'd be kicked out, that if I didn't want to be driven away, I had to find a way. He couldn't go on, but everyone understood. Lu Yu didn't directly instruct Shin Yu to push me, but she had been feeding poison to a 10-year-old child all along. Tell him that his sister will take everything. Tell him that there is no place for him in this family. Tell him that if he doesn't do something, he will be kicked out. A 10-year-old child, hearing these words every day, how much fear and hatred would accumulate in his heart. All this fear and hatred eventually turned towards a newborn baby. The grandmother closed her eyes and took a deep breath. Lu Yu, she repeated the name, her voice filled with a suppressed fury. Then she opened her eyes and looked at the security guard by the door. Please, help me call the police. 11. The security guard nodded and took out his phone. Shin Yu suddenly raised his head, his face covered in tears. Grandma, don't call the police, don't arrest my mom, it was something I did myself, it really has nothing to do with her. Grandma, please believe me. Grandma looked at him and remained silent for a long time. Shin Yu, do you think just because you're a minor, you don't have to face the consequences when you do something wrong? Let me tell you, don't even think about it, and remember one thing. The person who truly harmed you is not your sister. She did nothing wrong, she was just born. The one who truly harmed you is your biological mother. She used you as a pawn, making you harm a newborn baby. She wasn't helping you, she was destroying you. Shin Yu was stunned. He opened his mouth, wanting to say something, but in the end, no words came out. Tears streamed down his cheeks, falling to the ground and spreading into a small patch of dampness. My mother held me, standing to the side, watching it all unfold. Her face showed no expression, but tears kept flowing. Shin Jianjun, her voice was soft, but firm. I want a divorce. We'll settle your affair with Lu Yu in court. You deceived me for 8 years, making me adopt the child you had with your mistress. that's fraud, I will sue you. And you will pay what you owe and return what you took. As for Shinyu, she glanced at the boy crouching in the corner, her eyes filled with tears and heartache, but more than anything, with resolve. He's just a child, and I won't pursue criminal liability against him, but don't ever let him appear in front of me again, or I can't guarantee what I might do. Dad knelt on the ground, his shoulders heaving violently. Wife, I beg you, give me one more chance, don't call me wife. Mother turned away, no longer looking at him. From today onwards, I am not your wife. The police car arrived 20 minutes later. 2 police officers came, one male and one female. The female police officer crouched down and looked at Shinyu. Little one, come with auntie. Shinyu didn't move, he turned his head and glanced at his mother. In that glance, there was guilt, fear, and a tiny, almost imperceptible hope. Mom didn't look at him, she held me, turned her face away, and tears flowed silently. Shinyu lowered his head, stood up, and followed the female police officer away. The moment the door closed, Mom finally couldn't hold back and hugged me, sobbing loudly. Listening to her cries, my heart felt like it was being twisted, aching, and sour. Mom, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to make you cry, but this time, we won't follow the same path as last life. I extend my tiny hand, gently grasp her finger, and squeeze it firmly. Mom looks down at me, her teary eyes revealing a smile uglier than crying. Baby, Mom is fine. Mom has you, that's enough. The sunlight outside the window is just right. The wind of May blew in, carrying the scent of spring. Leaning against my mother's warm chest, I listened to her heartbeat gradually steadying, and finally fell asleep in peace. This time, I know, when I wake up, the world will be different. Outside the door, Grandma leaned against the corridor wall and let out a long sigh. Her eyes were red, but the corners of her mouth lifted slightly. She took out her phone and sent a message to her husband. Old man, our granddaughter is a blessed one. The phone vibrated quickly. How so? Grandma glanced back at the hospital room door and typed a few words. She saved our whole family. After sending the message, she leaned against the wall and closed her eyes. Sunlight streamed in through the corridor window, falling on her graying hair, warm and comforting. She thought, this matter isn't over yet. In Lu Yu's case, the police need to investigate. On the son-in-law's side, my daughter needs to hire a good lawyer. As for Shinyu, that child, after all, is also a victim, used as a pawn by his birth mother and hidden away by his birth father. He harbored so much resentment, which he eventually vented on a newborn baby. He wasn't born evil, he was corrupted by others, but this child no longer concerns herself with her own affairs. Grandmother sighed. The road ahead for this family is still long, but at least, her granddaughter was safe. That is enough. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comment section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. My younger sister is a lucky star, while I am a calamity. During the famine of the 1980s, my sister could casually pick up bird eggs and wild ginseng on the mountain to cure our parents, while I mistakenly ate wild grass and was rescued for 3 days and nights. I broke out in rashes all over my body, leading to my childhood sweetheart breaking off our engagement. The very next day, he came to propose to my sister in a Dongfeng brand car. She got rich by raising pigs for the whole village, while I was swept away and drowned by a flood that destroyed my thatched hut. I was despised by everyone, but only my sister cared for me, sending me gifts. On the brink of death, I clutched her hand and wished her eternal happiness, but my sister looked at me, her eyes filled with malice. Sister, your lucky star fate is truly useful. Next life, I hope you can continue to serve me. Only then did I realize that all the gifts she had given me were to borrow my luck, causing me to suffer a backlash and become a calamity star. I died with intense unwillingness. Returning to the 1980s, I looked at the grass ring in my hand and turned to give it to the highly decorated commander. I want to see whether your life is tougher, or the commander's life, protected by national fortune, is tougher. Sister, this is a bracelet I made myself. I'm giving it to you. My sister Su Fubao's soft, delicate voice rang out. Hearing my sister's familiar voice, I finally snapped back to reality. I had been reborn. In my previous life, she had used this innocent demeanor to slip the grass bracelet onto my wrist, successfully borrowing my luck. She found 1,000-year-old wild ginseng for our sick parents, earning the reputation of a filial daughter, while I accidentally ate poisonous grass and ended up in the emergency room. From childhood to adulthood, our parents scolded me as a jinx, and even my childhood friend thought it was my fault. My sister was the only one who treated me kindly And I repaid her with sincerity. I had never imagined that the cherished gift I held dear would turn out to be a death warrant. To avoid arousing Su Fubao's suspicions, I gritted my teeth and accepted the bracelet, saying, "Thank you, you really are my good sister." Su Fubao smiled warmly and replied, "Sister, even if everyone else dislikes you, I will always be good to you." Seeing Su Fubao head up the mountain, I knew she must be going to look for wild ginseng. Thinking of my experiences at the health center in my previous life, I tremble all over. In this life, I will make Su Fubao suffer the backlash and taste the suffering I endured back then. I clenched the straw bracelet and headed to the threshing ground, where Commander Zhou of the village military team was stationed. Although Commander Zhou had numerous military achievements, he was approachable and kind to us ordinary folks. When I was called a cursed star, he took me in. "Chief Zhou, thank you for taking me in last time. This is a grass ring made by my lucky sister with her own hands. I have no money and nothing else to give you, but I hope this gift can bring you good fortune." I timidly handed the item to him, knowing that if he discovered anything wrong with the gift, it would be my sister who would take the blame for me. Chief Zhou smiled gratefully, taking the grass ring from my hand with a thoughtful expression. "Su Fubao, enjoy the big gift I've prepared for you." Returning home, Su Fubao excitedly held up the poisonous herb to show her parents. "Mom, Dad, I found wild ginseng again. This time, if you eat it, your illnesses will definitely be cured completely." Her parents smiled with relief. "You're truly our good daughter, able to find such a treasure," they said. They glared at me. "Unlike your sister, who always looks so down in the dumps." Zhang Jinzhong, my childhood friend, came by with gifts to visit my parents, he teased. "With Fubao's wild ginseng, my bird's nest is practically useless now." Watching their family so happy and harmonious, I stayed calm, waiting for their misfortune to strike. Mom and Dad lifted bowls as big as the sea and drank them down in large gulps. The next second, they clutched their stomachs and collapsed, and Su Fubao exclaimed in shock, "How could this happen?" After a chaotic rush, Mom and Dad were rushed to the health clinic for emergency treatment. I stood at the door of the emergency room, feigning surprise. "Sister, aren't you the lucky star? How did our parents end up in the hospital because of you?" Su Fubao's eyes were red, and her shoulders trembled slightly. "I don't know." She shrank pitifully behind Zhang Jinzhong, and the man immediately glared at me like a protective hyena. "Fubao is filial, unlike you, a jinx. It must be that Fubao was tainted by the bad luck from you that accidentally caused our parents to get poisoned." I was so angry I laughed. Su Fubao's own misfortune, and Zhang Jinzhong could still pin the blame on me. Seeing the patients around us pointing and whispering, I let out a cold laugh and slapped him across the face. "You can eat whatever you want, but you can't just spout nonsense. Her bad luck has nothing to do with me, and, Comrade Zhang, don't you forget, you're my fiancé now." Humiliated in front of everyone, Zhang Jinzhong's face turned ashen, his lips trembled, but he couldn't utter a single word. Su Fubao didn't dare to pull and tug at him anymore. Seeing the two of them in such a state, I felt immensely satisfied. I left before my so-called parents even came out. Su Fubao followed me out, her face still flushed with lingering anger. "Where's the grass ring on your hand?" Her voice pierced through the night like a sharp blade. I looked innocent and said, "It was an accident." "Why is my sister so angry?" Her pupils contracted sharply, like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. After hesitating for a moment, she took out a box of snow cream from her pocket. "I'm sorry, sister, I was just in a hurry. I only wanted to bring you good luck. I didn't expect you to lose it." This snow cream was a gift from Brother Jinzhong to me. "Since my sister is unhappy, I'll give it to you." I didn't immediately reach out to take it, just looked at her with a half-smile. Su Fubao's complexion grew increasingly grim, and a drop of sweat dripped from her forehead onto the ground. I finally took it, then turned and tossed the hand cream into the military sentry box. "Comrade Su Fubao is expressing her loyalty to Commander Zhou. Please pass it on for her." Seeing my familiar face, the guard didn't suspect anything, and I returned home at ease. I wonder what luck Su Fubao is trying to borrow from me this time. The hand cream, could it be for her face? My younger sister was never as pretty as I was, which is why Zhang Jinzhong took an immediate liking to me. This time, I caught her off guard, and I'm sure she's even more panicked now, afraid of slipping up in front of Zhang Jinzhong. Calamity. Sure enough, as soon as I got home, my mother hurled a porcelain bowl at my temple. Blood trickled down my brow and into the corner of my mouth. This heart was already full of holes, yet it still feels unbearably heavy now. I glared at Su Fubao, gritting my teeth. it was my sister who picked the poisonous herbs and sent you to the clinic, so why blame me?" Mother turned around, her gaze dark and piercing as it fell upon me. She grabbed my hair and slammed my head against the doorframe. "You, the cursed one, dare to bring it up, ever since you were born, from the day I was born, the 10-year drought ended." I pried open her trembling fingers, "but after my sister was born, 3 of our pigs died in a row." Su Fubao's voice was shrill. Only when she turned her head did I notice the wound on her face that kept dripping blood. Her eyes were red as she said, "Sister, I'm disfigured now. Are you happy?" Mother looked at me as if I were her father's murderer. "If it weren't for you, how could Fubao have ended up like this?" Mother slapped her thigh and wailed. Su Fubao bit her red lips tightly, her eyes glaring at me with intense hatred. It turns out that Mother wasn't scolding me for herself, but to stand up for her pampered daughter. Today, Su Fubao gave me the snow cream and then put on a beautiful dress to attend the dance party held at Zhang Jinzhong's factory, intending to seduce him unexpectedly. Just as she reached the entrance, she was tripped by an unexpected pebble, causing her to fall to the ground and get her face cut by a blade. I slightly curved the corner of my mouth, covering my mouth. "Sister, aren't you a lucky star? Can you recover from disfigurement?" Su Fubao couldn't stand it anymore. She was so angry that her face became distorted, her features twisted, and she didn't hide her hatred for me at all. "It's you, you ruined me. It's all because of you." Mother grabbed a handful of my hair. "You wretched thing, get out of my sight." She yanked at my hair, dragging me out of the house, and the door slammed shut in front of me. Staring at the tightly closed door, I finally came to my senses. Even though they were all their own daughters, their parents only cared about Su Fubao, who could bring them benefits. Otherwise, I wouldn't be so attached to the little kindness Su Fubao showed me. If that's the case, then from now on, I won't let them influence my life anymore. As I slipped my hand into my pocket, I froze in my tracks, standing still, cold sweat trickling down my forehead. In the moonlight, a golden pig necklace gleamed coldly. I bit hard into my tongue to suppress the trembling. The necklace that had taken my life in my previous incarnation was actually stuffed into my pocket by Su Fubao. I didn't have time to think, dashing quickly towards the direction where the army was stationed. Just as I encountered a jeep emerging from within, I slammed the necklace heavily onto the hood and shouted out loud, "Comrade Zhou, Su Fubao said that this golden pig necklace can cure your son's illness, which is related to the zodiac pig. He insisted that I must deliver it to you." Comrade Zhou's pupils contracted sharply. The outbreak of illness in his son was known to very few people, and I only learned of it by chance in my previous life. Now, Comrade Zhou couldn't help but doubt Su Fubao, as Su Fubao's actions must have been deliberate. Indeed, the usually amiable Director Zhou was furious. He warned me, "Don't touch anything of your lucky sister's in the future. Maybe her good fortune is borrowed through those gifts." I played dumb, but she's been really unlucky lately. Director Zhou touched the gleaming metal on his chest and smiled without saying a word. It seemed he didn't suspect me but rather believed he had luckily helped me avoid disaster. After Director Zhou left, my legs gave way, and I collapsed to the ground. The heavy burden in my heart finally fell away. No more. Su Fubao won't kill me anymore. A horrific scream suddenly erupted from the direction of the pigsty, and I took off running. Amidst the strong smell of blood, 20 pigs lay dead in front of her, their bodies already decaying, and some other pigs were lying on the ground, dying. The entire village had gathered here, and Su Fubao was surrounded by the crowd in the very center. Dressed in thin clothing, she shivered in the darkness. "It wasn't me, really, it wasn't me. I don't know why this happened," Zhang Jinzhong's mother cursed. "These pigs are the lifeblood of our village. Now that something has happened, what if the higher-ups hold us accountable?" Other villagers chimed in as well. "It was her who claimed to be a lucky star and could make the pigs grow better and better. That's why we trusted her and handed the pigs over to her to raise. Damn it, all the pigs are in trouble this year. What are we going to do about our village?" Su Fubao's face turned pale as she turned her head and her gaze fell upon me. Our eyes met, and my heart skipped a beat before I could even react. She ran up to me, knelt down directly, and hugged my thigh, her voice hoarse. "It's not my fault. Those pigs have nothing to do with me. It's her, it's all her." Su Fubao looked at me, his eyes bloodshot. "Sister, I wasn't feeling well yesterday. I begged you to watch the pigsty for me, but I never expected the pigs to fall ill today, and now all the pigs in the village are sick. Why are you doing this to me? You're forcing me to die." Her voice was shrill, her eyes unblinking, as she dumped all the blame on me. Before I could say anything, Zhang Jinzhong leaped out from the crowd. "We all know Su Huilan is just a jinx. Fu Bao is a lucky star, the pigs she raises are all fat and strong, it must be this calamity star that has affected Fu Bao's fortune, it's all her fault, it has nothing to do with Fu Bao, it's this calamity star that has brought misfortune to our village. He pointed at me, speaking in defense of Fu Bao. My hands clenched tightly at my sides as I spoke coldly, it has nothing to do with me, I wasn't the one guarding the pig pen. A loud slap landed hard on my face. Mother glared at me. I testify that last night, this calamity helped gather the pigsty for Fu Bao. You really want to kill Fu Bao, don't you? How can you be so heartless? You're nothing but a venomous woman. Mother hurled all the most vicious words at me. My entire heart grew colder and colder. I didn't clean her pigsty, and I won't take the blame for her. I stood alone in the corner, expressionless, staring at the three people in front of me. My father stepped out from the crowd, delivering a heavy kick to my stomach. The pain caused me to curl up on the ground, my back scraping against the rough stones, tearing my skin. The agony made me groan, and I spat out a mouthful of blood. He felt no guilt at all, his eyes coldly fixed on me instead. We're all from the same village, so I won't hide it from you. She's a jinx, a disaster. It's her fault the pigs got sick. None of this has anything to do with Fu Bao. She knows nothing about it. My pupils dilated sharply. He was my own father. Cough, cough. Hatred grew wildly in my heart. Why did they treat me like this? The villagers believed it and looked at me with righteous indignation. Fu Bao walked over. Since this incident is sister's fault, why doesn't sister stay in the pigsty? She can come out when the pigs get better. Mother's voice was loud as she praised. Fu Bao is so clever. This girl is a disaster star. She should be punished properly. Father lifted me up and threw me into the pigsty. I landed in the pigsty, my entire body reeking of an indescribable stench. I glared at the person in front of me. You'll regret treating me like this someday. Fu Bao sighed, looking helpless. Sister, it's not that father and mother want to do this. You're a calamity star, and you'll affect my fortune. This is the only way we can deal with you. Zhang Jinzhong also chimed in with mockery. A calamity star, and you think you can make us regret it? How ridiculous. You're such a calamity star. You make me sick just looking at you. I'm breaking off our engagement. Someone like Fu Bao, a lucky star, is who I should marry. Fu Bao put on an act, sobbing. If I could, I would rather be the calamity star and you the lucky star. Although I said that, I could see a deep sense of satisfaction in her eyes. I sat in the pigsty, utterly disheveled, in stark contrast to her impeccably dressed appearance. Why, even though I've lived through this all over again, I still can't change the ending. Is this life? Am I still going to be her stepping stone? I closed my eyes in despair. A voice rang out. Then as you wish. General Zhou, dressed in a straight military uniform, stood outside the crowd with his subordinates. Come, arrest the calamity star, Fu Bao. In the next second, Fu Bao was restrained. Everyone stared in shock at Fu Bao. Her mother stepped forward, her voice sharp. Who are you? Our Fu Bao is the village's lucky star. Why are you arresting her, mother? I am the lucky star, save me. Fu Bao cried out in terror, clutching her mother's hand tightly. Zhang Jinzhong naturally recognized the identity of Secretary Zhou. He stepped forward, taking his mother's hand. Auntie, this comrade is Secretary Zhou. Father stepped forward, puffing on his pipe, and forced a flattering smile. Secretary Zhou, you must have mistaken someone. The girl in the pigsty is the calamity star, but Fu Bao is the lucky star. Secretary Zhou followed the direction of father's finger and, upon seeing my wretched state, his pupils suddenly dilated. How dare you really do this? His chest rose and fell with anger. Zhang Jinzhong spoke up at this moment as well. Comrade Commander, I don't know who deceived you, but Fu Bao is truly a lucky star. She is the disaster star, and she should be arrested. Commander Zhou's cold gaze swept over Zhang Jinzhong and the others. They all thought Commander Zhou believed their words and looked at me triumphantly. Fu Bao cleared his throat. Comrade leader, I really am a lucky star. If you don't believe me, you can ask the others in our village. As for the jinx, that's my sister. You might have misunderstood. Secretary Zhou could no longer hold back and personally came to the pigsty to help me up. He took off his own coat and draped it over me. Fu Bao's eyes turned red with jealousy. She walked over, her voice delicate. Commander, we all know you have a sense of justice, but sister is a disaster star. This is to satisfy the heavens. If you do this, the heavens will surely not spare our village. Her words stoked the flames, and the villagers couldn't hold back. That's right, she's a disaster star. She must be punished. Because of her, all the pigs in our village are dead. she must pay the price. This cursed star should have died long ago. Hearing everyone around her speaking up for her, Su Fubao's face showed a smug expression. Director Zhou let out a cold laugh. If that's the case, throw her into the cesspit. His subordinates acted quickly, showing no mercy or tenderness. Ah, the scream echoed through the heavens. Su Fubao stayed in the pigsty, wearing a look of disgust. The pigs that had been quietly lying on the ground, upon seeing Su Fubao enter, all stood up, their eyes red as they stared at her. Help, help, one fat pig after another charged at her, and she staggered around the pigsty, no longer looking as refined as she had been. Father, mother, please save me, she cried out for help. Her mother couldn't hold back any longer and rushed over to cling to the leg of the Zhou commander. Commander, what are you doing? Fubao is a lucky star, aren't you afraid of retribution for treating her like this? I leaned against Minister Zhou, my body growing cold due to severe blood loss. I sneered at the woman in front of me. Mother, even now, you still don't know who the real lucky star is. Gasps echoed around us. Just a moment ago, Su's eldest daughter was in the pigsty. And those pigs were so well behaved. Now they're attacking Fubao. I can't tell who the lucky star is and who the calamity star is anymore. The Su family had always been smug about having a lucky star in their home, but now the truth was out. The so-called calamity star they had mistreated for so many years was actually the real lucky star. TSK TSK TSK, this is going to be good. No, I'm the lucky star. Su Fubao shouted. Her mother's face turned pale, her lips moved, but no words came out. And I, unable to hold back any longer, blacked out and fainted. When I woke up in the clinic, Minister Zhou was by my side. Are you all right? I nodded at him and spoke sincerely. Thank you, Minister Zhou. I feel great now. Chairman Zhou's dark face slightly reddened. Serving the people is only right. You should rest well. A commotion came from outside. Chairman Zhou stood up. Your parents are outside. Do you want to see them? I pursed my lips and slowly nodded. As soon as she came in, her eyes red, she looked at me. Huimin, I'm sorry. I truly am sorry. I didn't know you were the one. My father, hunched over, spoke in a hoarse voice. You, girl, are a lucky star. Why have you never told us? I forced a smile, my heart not in it. Why didn't I tell you? Do you really need me to spell it out? From a young age to adulthood, in their eyes, I was nothing but a harbinger of misfortune. Whenever something goes wrong at home, all the blame falls on me. At first, I would try to explain. But later I gradually realized that explanations were useless. Whenever anything happens, they still blame me. I've always wondered, since I'm their daughter too, why they treat me this way. From a young age, I had always been waiting, wondering if one day they might have a moment of conscience and say sorry to me. Now, hearing their apologies, I only find it bitterly ironic. Mother pursed her lips and looked up at me. Huimin, your father and I are sorry to you, but we are, after all, your birth parents, and Fu Bao, she is your own sister. Please show mercy and let her go. Father and mother beg you. Your younger sister cries every day at home. Her health is almost ruined from weeping. I never expected that the first thing my parents would ask of me is to spare Su Fubao. Even though they already know that Su Fubao is the harbinger of misfortune, they still want me to show mercy. Maybe it's not because I'm a jinx, but simply because they hate me as a daughter. Watching me lying in the hospital bed, not a single word asking how I feel. Even now, still trying to speak up for Su Fuxing, I laughed and laughed until tears fell. You kneel down and kowtow to me in apology, and maybe I'll feel good and let her off. As soon as these words were spoken, my father slammed his palm heavily against the wall. You ungrateful daughter. I sat on the hospital bed, my face expressionless. I don't want to talk to you, please leave. Seeing that I showed no emotion at all, my mother pointed at me and started yelling profanities. You ungrateful daughter, you'll get your comeuppance sooner or later. Whether I get my comeuppance or not is none of your business. After they left, my shoulders slumped heavily. In truth, my heart still felt a bit sore, but I believe I can definitely cut them out of my heart. Before long, Zhang Jinzhong came with his mother. Zhang Jinzhong pursed his lips and looked at me, only to be shoved hard by his mother. Zhang Jinzhong's mother looked at me. Huimin, dear, your Jinzhong brother didn't mean it. He grew up with you since childhood and has feelings for you too. I didn't even bother to lift my eyelids as I said, Su Fubao is the one close to him. I have no connection with him at all. Before Zhang Jinzhong's mother could say anything more, Zhang Jinzhong frowned and snapped in a low voice, Mother, can you please step outside first? Zhang Jinzhong's mother turned and left. The room was left with only Zhang Jinzhong and me. His voice was hoarse. Huimin, our relationship isn't that close. Please call me Comrade Su." Hearing my words, he seemed to be unable to bear it, his body trembling slightly. "Huimin, I didn't know before." I finally looked up at him. "Did Su Fubao know you were coming to see me?" If Su Fubao knew about this, he would definitely make a huge scene, wouldn't he? Zhang Jinzhong's face was extremely grim. "Huimin, I've already apologized to you. Why are you still holding on to it? I will marry you. Once you recover, I'll have my mother go to your house to propose." Zhang Jinzhong went about his arrangements on his own. The door to the ward was open from the outside. Su Fubao's eyes were red, and her body trembled slightly. "Jinzhong Gij, didn't you say you were going to cancel your engagement with my sister and marry me?" If it weren't for the scar on her face, she would still look quite pitiful. I could see a hint of impatience hidden in Zhang Jinzhong's eyes. Soon, his mother rushed in from outside, grabbing Su Fubao's hair. "Shut your mouth. Jinzhong is the factory director, with a bright future ahead of him. How could he possibly be with a jinx like you? Only Huimin, this lucky star, is worthy of Jinzhong." Jinzhong's mother looked at me, her eyes filled with expectation. I got off the sick bed and walked up to them, letting out a half smile, half laugh. "Auntie, you seem to have forgotten that Comrade Zhang already broke off our engagement before. I have no relationship with him. I wouldn't even consider associating with such a person." I stepped out of the ward, and Su Fubao grabbed my hand. She clenched her back teeth, her eyes reddening as she stared at me. "Sister, I truly love Jinzhong. Please, let me have him." I yanked my hand away, my voice laced with amusement. "You just saw it yourself. I already rejected him, but he's like a sticky piece of gum, clinging to me. It seems your Jinzhong brother doesn't love you as much as you imagined." As soon as she heard this, Su Fubao instantly fell apart. She shouted, "No. Jinzhong loves me. All he loves is your reputation as Fubao. You're talking nonsense. He told me that the person he loves has always been me." Seeing that Su Fubao was still deluding herself, I pursed my lips. "Fine, the person he loves is you, okay." I couldn't be bothered to argue with her, so I turned around and left directly. The next day, Commander Zhou brought packed meals from the state-run restaurant. I savored the delicious meal, my eyes narrowing with happiness. "I'm fine now. Discharge me today." Being stuck in the hospital, I was utterly bored out of my mind. As soon as Zhou Shouzhang heard this, his tone rose uncontrollably. "No, you can't be discharged." His unusual reaction caught my attention, and I furrowed my brows. "What's going on?" Stepping out of the ward, I saw my mother tightly hugging Su Fubao at the entrance of the health clinic. As soon as she saw me, my mother immediately stood up and raised her hand to slap me. I dodged to the side, avoiding her slap, but she lost her balance and fell to the ground. Twisting her waist, she struggled to stand up, holding her waist, and pointed at me. "You wretched star, it's all because of you that your sister ended up like this." My gaze fell on Su Fubao. Not far away, she was disheveled, clutching herself tightly. Our eyes met, and I saw a look of resentment in hers. She walked over, knelt before me, and kept kowtowing. The force was heavy, and soon blood was drawn. "Sister, I know I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. Please, let me go. Please, let me go." "Okay, how important reputation is for a woman. I've already been ruined. My life is over. I just want to live out the rest of my life in peace. Can't you let me go?" Tears dripped one by one from the corners of her eyes, splashing onto the ground. As she spoke, she rolled up her sleeves, revealing bruises and scars all over her body. She sniffled, trying to hold back her tears. "I know it was wrong of me to claim your reputation as a lucky star, but I didn't know you were the real deal. But you've ruined me. Aren't I your own sister?" Her words dripped with blood. Comrades coming and going all stopped to watch the spectacle. Seeing her in such a state, some soft-hearted female comrade spoke up. "This female comrade is truly going to destroy her own sister. To think of such a method to punish your own sister. Such a person truly has a heart as cruel as poison. I heard she's a lucky star. Can someone so ruthless and vicious really be a lucky star?" Mother also walked over, supporting Su Fubao. "We are a family. Do you really want to drive us to the brink of destruction?" I raised an eyebrow and stepped in front of Su Fubao. "You say you don't know I'm the lucky star?" Su Fubao's face paled for a moment, but she quickly composed herself. She bit her lower lip and spoke pitifully. "After I was born, there was a famine at home, but it was easy to find chicken, duck, and goose eggs on the mountain. My parents said I was a lucky star, but how would I know if I really am one? Sister, I know I was wrong. I won't claim to be your lucky star again. Please forgive me." She knelt down again, ready to kowtow to me. More and more comrades gathered to watch the spectacle. Rotten vegetables, who knows where they came from, were all thrown at me. We don't want such a ruthless lucky star. Yes, the lucky star who doesn't even care for her own sister. Just hurry up and die. I was a complete mess, my entire body emanating an indescribable stench. The malice in Su Fubao's eyes was almost spilling over. How could I not know this was intentional on her part? Zhou, the leader, stood in front of me, enveloping me entirely within his protective circle. Quiet down, everyone, quiet down. The crowd had already spiraled out of control, and Zhou's words fell on deaf ears. He took my hand and spoke with concern. Maybe we should leave first. I shook my head at him. No need, since Su Fubao had come to me herself, I certainly wouldn't let her off the hook. Commander Zhou, are the things I gave you still with you? Commander Zhou nodded. They're all still with me. Do you need them? I extended my hand. Please take everything out. I looked at Su Fubao with a half smile. Minister Zhou tossed the gifts Su Fubao had given me onto the ground as if they were trash. With each item she threw, her expression grew darker. Sister, do you remember these things? These are what you gave me. Just as she was about to deny it, I chuckled softly. It's okay, you don't have to admit it, but I'm sure someone saw you giving these gifts to me. Su Fubao clenched her back teeth and spoke sullenly. These are the gifts I gave you, out of my concern for you. Sister, you wouldn't be saying there's something wrong with these gifts, would you? I am sincere towards you. She was the first to speak up in her defense. Fubao has always been kind-hearted since she was young. Back then, when she saw you being bullied, she would give you her own good things. Don't be ungrateful. I crouched down, reaching out to pick up the watch in front of me, not missing the flicker of joy in Su Fubao's eyes. Since these are gifts from my sister, then pick them up and give them back to me. I crossed my arms, amused as I stared down at Su Fubao on the ground. Her smile suddenly stiffened, her voice stammering. Sister, this is a gift I've prepared for you. I just wanted you to pick it up and give it to me again. You wouldn't refuse, would you? Su Fubao stared at the gift on the ground, saying nothing. None of them were fools. Everyone could see something was off at a glance. She didn't dare to reach out and touch the gifts. Does that prove there's something wrong with them? Oh my God, thinking about it is terrifying. The gifts she gave to her own sister were full of hidden intentions. No wonder her sister wanted to drive her to the brink of despair. There must be some hidden secret. Listening to the surrounding comments, Su Fubao's body trembled slightly, but she still did not reach out to touch the items on the ground. She looked up, still trying to argue. Sister, these are the gifts I gave you. How could there be any problem? I'm just not feeling well. You picked them up yourself. She really is forcing herself to gloss over it. I let out a cold laugh and gave Zhou Shouzhang a meaningful glance. He took out a matchbox and tossed it directly into the pile of items. The items were burned black, emitting an indescribable odor. Ugh, what is that smell? It's so foul, definitely not a normal smell. I feel there must be some conspiracy behind this. As the 3 items were burned, Su Fubao's complexion grew increasingly worse. She spat out a mouthful of blood onto the ground, looking utterly pitiful as she lay sprawled on the floor. Every pitiful person has their own share of blame. I don't feel the slightest bit sorry for her. Raising my hand, I slapped Su Fubao across the face with all my strength. How dare you still claim there's not a single trace of conspiracy in this? Ever since I was young, every time you gave me a gift, I'd end up in bad luck. How can you still say you've done nothing? Her mother stood nearby, her eyes filled with disbelief. She plopped down on the ground. Fubao, is this true? Did you really do this? Seeing that everything had been exposed, Su Fubao no longer bothered to pretend. She laughed hysterically. Why are you born a lucky star? While I'm doomed to be a disaster, I will make you a harbinger of disaster. I will borrow your luck. Mingming, you've already accepted my gift. Why aren't you suffering misfortune? Smack. Her mother slapped her hard across the face, her eyes unable to hide the disappointment. Fubao, your father and I have cherished you since you were a child, yet you would do such a thing. She turned around, her eyes red as she looked at me. I'm sorry, Huimin, I'm so sorry. I truly didn't know the truth was like this. I merely spoke indifferently. She was always a calamity. Something happened to her because of her own bad luck. It has nothing to do with me. I didn't harm her. Even though I harbored deep hatred for Su Fubao, I would never do something like that to harm her. After saying this, I didn't glance at my mother again and turned to leave. This heart has long been sealed away. It won't react in the slightest. These days, Minister Zhou has been leaving early and returning late. He doesn't believe that Su Fubao alone could have done such a thing. There must be someone behind the scenes pulling the strings. I am also well aware that, given Su Fubao's intelligence, it's impossible for him to have come up with such a plan. These days, Zhang Jinzhong and my parents come looking for me every few days, but I haven't met them even once. For the sake of Su Fubao, they were capable of doing such things to me. I will never forgive them for the rest of my life. After a busy month, Director Zhou finally made some progress. He walked up to me, his tone brimming with excitement. The person behind your case has been caught. I hadn't expected them to catch the mastermind, and my surprise turned to delight as I asked, who is it? Director Zhou shook his head. You wouldn't know them. They were a spy. He touched his chest and pulled out a Shanghai brand watch from his shirt. This was the gift I gave him last time to express my gratitude, except that this watch had been pierced through. Director Zhou's lips curved slightly. Huiman, you really are a lucky star. If it weren't for this watch you gave me, I might have been shot dead. I never expected to survive, and now I've even been awarded a first-class merit. I pursed my lips, unable to suppress the lingering worry in my heart. He waved his hand. I'm really fine. I'm in great shape now, but I have some good news to share with you. I looked utterly confused. What good news? Your parents, and your former fiancé, are all dead. Huh, I hadn't expected them to die. Su Fubao went mad. She cooked a meal for your parents and put rat poison in it. After poisoning your parents, she went to the Zhang family and, while Zhang Jinzhong wasn't paying attention, stabbed him in the chest with a knife. I was holding a water cup, drinking. Upon hearing this news, the cup fell heavily to the ground. Scalding water splashed onto my lower leg. Ouch! I never thought Su Fubao would be so insane as to kill them. There was no feeling in my heart, neither sorrow nor relief. I truly managed to treat them as strangers. Whether they live or die has nothing to do with me. Chairman Zhou was startled and quickly crouched down to examine me. I quickly pulled my leg back. Chairman Zhou, it is improper for men and women to have physical contact, I said, feeling a bit shy as I looked down at his angular profile. Minister Zhou, at a young age, had already risen to the position of a high-ranking leader and had yet to marry. He exuded a strong sense of justice, and being around him filled one with a profound sense of security. For this male comrade who reached out to me in both my past and present lives, it was impossible for me not to feel something. Director Zhou stood up, saluting me with a precise military salute. Comrade Su Huiman, I like you. Could you be my partner? I never expected him to suddenly confess to me, and I was so shocked that my eyes widened in astonishment. He suddenly grabbed my hand. Can I borrow some good fortune from you, lucky star? I finally realized what was happening and placed my hand in his. If that's the case, then let Minister Zhou share in some good fortune. After hearing the two stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.